Here's something that'll make you feel ancient. Lindsay Lohan genuinely believed her character would be body-swapping with an infant in the Freakier Friday sequel. If you're a millennial, you're living in what might be the ultimate nostalgia goldmine right now. Picture this, the Backstreet Boys are literally performing inside the Las Vegas sphere, because apparently regular concerts aren't mind-blowing enough anymore. And Disney just dropped the sequel to 2003's beloved Freaky Friday into theaters on August 8th. But here's where it gets controversial. Is all this nostalgic content actually good for us? Or are we just desperately clinging to our youth? Chad Michael Murray, who's reprising his heartthrob role as Jake in Freakier Friday, has some sobering thoughts about our collective obsession with turning back time. Spoiler alert, it's not as glamorous as we remember. Remember that iconic moment when Jake removes his motorcycle helmet and runs his fingers through those perfectly tousled blonde locks? Well, Murray just shattered that romantic illusion completely. The 43-year-old actor revealed that this seemingly effortless scene was actually filmed at the tail end of a grueling 12-hour shooting day. They were racing against the setting sun, desperately trying to capture that golden hour magic. We had this tiny window to catch the perfect sunlight before everything went dark, and we absolutely couldn't miss our shot, Murray explained with a laugh. But here's the part most people miss. After spending an entire day with styling products caked into his hair, that seductive hair flip became a logistical nightmare. Trust me, it's nowhere near as smooth as you'd hope when your hair feels like cardboard. The crew kept calling it zhuzhing, and honestly, it was way harder than anyone realizes. But let's dive into the real question everyone's burning to know. Are Anna and Jake finally together in this sequel? More than 20 years have passed since we watched rebellious teenager Anna Coleman, Lindsay Lohan, magically switch bodies with her uptight psychologist mother, Tess Coleman, Jamie Lee Curtis, thanks to some mysteriously enchanted fortune cookies. Now we're catching up with this mother-daughter pair once again, but the dynamics have completely shifted. Anna has transformed from the self-centered teen into a devoted mother raising her own teenage daughter, Harper Coleman, played by Julia Butters. Meanwhile, Tess has reinvented herself as a podcast host, though she's admittedly become somewhat of an overbearing grandmother. Here's where things get interesting, and maybe a little heartbreaking for Jake fans. Anna and Jake have maintained their friendship over the years, but she's actually engaged to a charming Londoner named Eric Reyes, Manny Jacinto. Eric is a single father to Lily Reyes, Sophia Hammonds, who happens to be Harper's school nemesis. Talk about complicated family dynamics. Murray doesn't sugarcoat Jake's position in Anna's love life. Honestly, Jake doesn't stand a chance against Eric. The guy is basically a real-life Disney prince. He's got everything going for him. Lohan, now 39, reflects on how dramatically her character has evolved. Back in the original movie, Anna was completely self-absorbed. Her entire world revolved around her guitar, her band, and complaining about everything else that was supposedly ruining her life. But now, Anna's daughter Harper is literally her entire universe. Parenthood changes everything. So why did devoted fans have to endure a painful 22-year wait for another Freaky Friday adventure? Curtis, now 66, provides a surprisingly logical explanation that makes perfect sense once you think about it. There was absolutely no way we could have created a believable sequel until Lindsay reached the right age to convincingly portray the mother of a 15-year-old. This project simply needed time to marinate and develop naturally. The lightbulb moment came while Curtis was promoting Halloween Ends back in 2022. She suddenly realized that Lohan had finally aged into the perfect demographic for the mother role. I literally started counting on my fingers, trying to figure out her exact age, Curtis recalls with amusement. She was about 35 at the time, and I thought, wait a minute, she definitely could have had a child at 20. What Curtis did next demonstrates the power of Hollywood connections and determination. She picked up her phone and called Disney CEO Bob Iger directly. I told him straight up, I've been traveling around the world, and literally the only thing people keep asking me is when we're making another Freaky Friday movie. Lindsay is finally old enough to have a teenage daughter, so let's make this happen. Here's a fun fact that adds another layer to this story. In real life, Lohan is actually a mother to a 2-year-old son named Luai, whom she shares with her husband, Bader Shamus. Even though Jamie had done all the mathematical calculations, Lohan laughs. I remember thinking, okay, but that would mean Anna got pregnant extremely young, like immediately after the events of the first movie. This realization led to Lohan's initial confusion about the sequel's concept. My first thought was genuinely, am I going to be swapping bodies with a baby? I was seriously wondering how I would convincingly act like a toddler on screen. But here's where the sequel gets creative with its body-swapping mechanics. Instead of the original mother-daughter switch, Freakier Friday features Anna swapping bodies with her daughter Harper, while Tess switches with Lily. And this all happens during the weekend of Anna and Eric's wedding. The magical transformation occurs after Anna's bachelorette party, during which all 4 women visit a mysterious fortune teller played by Vanessa Bayer. We invested enormous amounts of time and energy into crazy physical preparation work, explains 16-year-old Butters about mastering the body swap performance. We actually wrote detailed letters to each other, staying completely in character, to build authentic context and understanding. Lohan adds another fascinating detail about their preparation process. We would actually voice each other's dialogue out loud so we could hear exactly how the other person would deliver those same lines. It was incredibly helpful for understanding each other's speech patterns and mannerisms. Curtis, who gets to sport bold, fashion-forward designs influenced by Lily's passion for style, emphasizes that successful body swapping goes far beyond just changing clothes. Obviously, the wardrobe helps tremendously, but the real magic happens with behavior modification and character study. She continues. The production team mentioned bringing in a professional movement coach, but I knew we needed something more organic. I needed to spend time observing Sophia closely, and she needed to study my movements. We had to practice delivering each other's lines and identify very specific behavioral quirks. For instance, I noticed that Sophia constantly plays with her hair. Hammonds, now 18, had no idea how obvious this habit was until it was pointed out. I genuinely didn't realize how frequently I touch and play with my hair. It happens when I'm nervous, when I need something to fidget with. It's basically my comfort mechanism. When the original cast members, Curtis, Lohan, and Murray, reunited on set, the experience felt surprisingly natural. Honestly, it felt like absolutely no time had passed, Murray reflects. But as both artists and human beings, we've all become so much more comfortable and confident in our own skin over the years. That comfort level allows you to take bigger creative risks and really play around with your performance. One particularly memorable moment happened on just the second day of filming. Lohan spontaneously suggested that Harper, who had awakened in her mother's body, might instinctively run toward a mirror, thinking she was running toward her mom for help. It's these kinds of organic, character-driven moments that make the sequel feel authentic rather than forced. Curtis also gets to deliver updated versions of her iconic self-deprecating lines about her appearance, giving audiences a fresh take on the original's "I'm like the Crypt Keeper" moment. For someone who's nearly 67 years old and has made a career partly based on discussing how my face looks as I age, making fun of my appearance is honestly much more enjoyable than trying to look conventionally pretty. Curtis explains with refreshing honesty. That part of the performance comes naturally to me now. But here's what I find controversial about all this nostalgic content. Are we actually enjoying these sequels for their artistic merit? Or are we just desperately trying to recapture our youth? And this is the part most people miss. Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe we deserve to revisit the stories and characters that brought us joy during simpler times. What do you think? Are you genuinely excited about Freakier Friday because it looks like a quality film? Or are you mostly just hoping to feel 16 again for 2 hours? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. I'm curious whether you think this nostalgia trend is helping or hurting modern entertainment.